It is the last chance to share your thoughts on a controversial power line proposal in the area. We'll tell you how you can make your voice heard today.
And helping our heroes once they return home. It's PTSD Awareness Day, and we're live this morning with a veteran who's sharing some important things you should know about the disease.
From the Channel3000.com Alert Center, this is News 3 Now this morning.
Good morning, folks, and thanks for joining us on your Thursday, June 27th. The end of June already, and it's going to be drastically different from how we started the month, right?
Yes, you know, we're just a week into summer and temperatures really changing. We had kind of a cool month, but now we're going to the other extreme with high heat and humidity. It's going to feel pretty uncomfortable around here heading into the upcoming weekend, right into next week. At least we have the sunshine, though, this morning. That's nice. A little bit of cloud cover moving in this morning. There is the potential, though, for some showers and thunderstorms later today into tonight. Keeping my eye on that large amount of thunderstorm activity that's moving out of the Dakotas this morning. A severe thunderstorm watch is already in effect for all of central Minnesota until 1 o'clock. These showers and thunderstorms are expected to hold together and they'll work their way into southern Wisconsin later today. So be aware of that. Until then, though, it's going to be pretty sticky. Highs reach the upper 80s with heat index values climbing into the mid-90s today. High humidity is expected. Yesterday wasn't so bad, but today you'll definitely notice the difference. Take a look at your first alert traffic maps this morning. Travel in and around Madison still looking pretty good. The usual crowd is showing up at Stoughton Road and the Beltline. Around Dane County, things are still pretty quiet. Travel on the interstate looking good at this hour.
Okay, so my household is definitely prepared for this heat. We actually went out and bought a second air conditioning unit.
Are you serious?
We are not messing around. I am the typical Wisconsin girl. I get really bad in the heat, so
yes.
I'm ready.
Yeah, you need to take proper precautions. We're not used to this. We didn't have any really warm up to this heat.
I know, coming out of nowhere.
It really is.
I mean, it is the time for it.
It's summer.
You're right, we forget. All right, thank you, Addie.
You're welcome.
Breaking now in the Channel 3000 Alert Center, President Donald Trump has arrived in Japan for the G20 summit. The president has a series of high-stakes meetings scheduled, including talks with Vladimir Putin and China's president. Chinese press says there may be a deal in place between the U.S. and China to end their trade war. That would halt the next round of tariffs on Chinese goods. That summit runs through tomorrow.
Would not put kids in cages. In fact, we would spare no expense to reunite the families that have been separated already. And we would not criminally prosecute any family who is fleeing violence and persecution. We would make sure...
Secretary, let him finish, and I will give you his policy. But let him finish. Let him finish.
Gun violence is a national health emergency in this country, and we need to treat it like that. So what can we do? We can do the things that are sensible. We can do the universal background checks. We can ban the weapons of war. But we can also double down on the research and find out what really works.
There's 3 women up here that have fought pretty hard for a woman's right to choose. So I'll start with that. In our bathrobe at 5 in the morning.
All right, the first round of Democratic debates kicked off last night, featuring 10 candidates. The second round of debates will start again tonight. Both debates feature a diverse field with more women on stage than any past presidential debate. Tonight's debate will have 10 more candidates, including Joe Biden, Bernie Sanders, Kamala Harris, and Pete Buttigieg. Candidates take the stage at 8 this evening.
Right now, Republican leaders are calling on Democratic Governor Tony Evers to sign the state's 2-year spending plan. The budget passed the full legislature this week and now heads to Evers' desk. Republican Senate Majority Leader Scott Fitzgerald says he believes Evers will sign the plan and won't veto it completely. Democrats, on the other hand, say the budget is inadequate after state lawmakers voted to remove many of Evers' top priorities. That includes Medicaid expansion, legalization of medical marijuana, and a minimum wage increase. The budget increases funding for K-12 schools by $500 million, but that's a fraction of the $1.4 billion Evers wanted.
I think the K-12 number that we put in there is so significant that if there's no other reason that he should sign the document, not veto the entire thing, it's the money that we put into K-12.
Misses the mark on funding our schools, particularly special education, which I think every school superintendent around the state could nod their heads.
Republicans made last-minute minor wording changes to the budget this week in an effort to make sure it is more difficult for Evers to partially veto it. Fitzgerald says some GOP senators were skittish about the changes Evers could make.
Today is your last chance to voice an opinion on a controversial transmission line proposal.
The $500 million Cardinal Hickory Creek power line would run more than 100 miles across southwestern Wisconsin. The proposal would add towers from Dubuque County, Iowa to Middleton. ATC says it would bring clean wind energy to our state, but opponents question if there's even a need for that line when energy usage is flat in Wisconsin, especially with potential impacts to conservation efforts, property values, and tourism.
This line is basically stitched between all these really important natural resource areas. And the fact of the matter is that, you know, in southwest Wisconsin, a big part of our economy is the tourism economy. So if we're going to protect our tourism economy, we need to protect the natural beauty and the diversity of this area.
So opponents would like alternative options considered, like more solar or wind power generated in Wisconsin, while ATC says this is an opportunity to bring in clean energy.
Well, you have to understand how the electric system works. It doesn't start and stop at state lines. It operates on a regional system. And so right now there is development and activity of green renewable development in our neighboring states. And so what this line does is help move that energy into Wisconsin so that we benefit from the development of that power.
Now, ATC projects the line could provide Wisconsin customers net economic benefits between $23.5 million and $350 million over its lifetime. 2 public hearings will be held today at Dodger Bowl Lanes in Dodgeville, the first at 2 and the second at 6 p.m. for those wishing to express their concerns. Comments can also be submitted in writing through Friday, and you can find a link to that on channel3000.com.
All right, more local news now. An area subcontractor says they are out thousands because of a mistake made by the city of Madison. JB Crete says they got the go-ahead from a city inspector to start pouring concrete on a project. But once they'd gotten partway through their work, another inspector told them they had to stop because the work wasn't in compliance with city code. It ended up costing them $10,000 in lost material and labor with their attempts to fix it. Now they want the city to pay for those mistakes.
We couldn't do it. I mean, the concrete was getting so hard that we had a hard time closing up our footsteps. Just when we decided to say the heck with it, we'll finish what we can, and then we'll just have to cut the floor out to get the thermal break in the way he wants it.
Now, the city says they should have called when they first encountered the issue between the 2 inspectors, but the subcontractor says he just had to try and make it work before the concrete hardened. They do have a claim in with the city now, but the city's insurance, if the city's insurance doesn't find the city at fault, their only other course of action would be to file a lawsuit, a step they aren't sure they want to take.
Your time is 6:08. Right now in Rock County, Beloit police are looking for a man wanted for substantial battery. Police say 25-year-old Jeb Sparks Sr. was involved in a battery on Madison Road yesterday and was last seen with his mother. He's around 6 feet tall and 140 pounds. His mother, Gina, is around 5 feet 6 and 125 pounds. Sparks drives a black Mazda 6 with a Wisconsin license plate AEL 1029. There's damage on the driver's door and a broken out window. Call Beloit Police if you know anything.
A teenager is dead and 4 others injured after a crash on I-90 near Madison. Just after noon yesterday, 2 SUVs collided during a construction slowdown. One car had a mother and her teen daughter inside, while the other had 3 teenage boys inside. The mom and daughter have minor injuries, while the teens range from serious to life-threatening injuries. One of those teenagers later died from those injuries. 6:08 your time now. As many as 70% of all Americans have experienced a traumatic event.
About 20% of those end up developing PTSD symptoms, making days like today, PTSD Awareness Day, so important. Christina Laurie joins us live this morning to explain. Hi, Christina.
Hi, Josh and Leah. Suicidal thoughts are just one of the symptoms of PTSD, but they don't have to be that extreme, and they manifest themselves in different ways in different people. We're rejoined by Levi this morning. He's a U.S. Army veteran. Thanks for sticking out here with us. So what did you experience when you came back from Afghanistan?
Well, the big transition was the family members around me and just dealing with them. And one thing that was in our culture that we just, if you have a problem, you don't really say, hey man, this is what's going with me. It was a lot of drinking and unhealthy coping mechanisms. And when you're around family and I don't understand what's going on, that's just how you've been coping through the years. and you haven't figured out how to adjust or, you know, exactly what's going on with you. You just know, like, certain times and anniversaries, life just feels like way off base or off kilter, and like you don't know how to explain to people the anxiety that's going on or any of that.
So you were experiencing some aggression, and that's when you found Dry Hooch. What is it about this organization that was so helpful to you?
Well, first of all, it's one of those sober environments that Bob Curry created after his time coming back from Vietnam, and him dealing with PTSD, that he knew that there needed to be a place. There was that need for returning veterans and soldiers to have that place that wasn't dealt with alcohol at all, where people could come and heal and just be with other veterans, is really the secret of this place.
Thank you so much for sharing that with us. And we're going to learn more about Dry Hooch ahead at the 6:30 half hour of our show, Josh and Leah. But for now, I'll send it back to you.
All right. Christina Laurie reporting live for us. Thank you, Christina.
6:10 right now. Many of us exercise regularly, but are we exercising enough? That's the big question. Just ahead, we talk with Dr. Mara about making sure you get the amount of exercise you need to stay healthy.
Great day to get outside and do a little exercising of your own, as long as you're staying hydrated. Take in that sun, because it's sticking around for a couple of days with some heat and humidity and alert days in the forecast. That's when News 3 Now This Morning returns.
Good morning from the Hattie-O patio. Already a little muggy outside this morning. You'll definitely be able to notice the difference as we head through the day today as humidity levels climb for southern Wisconsin. There also is the potential for severe thunderstorms a bit later on. So there is an alert day in effect for later on today into tonight. Strong to severe thunderstorms are expected to move in from the north and west, and those strongest storms would be capable of producing large hail, high winds, as well as some pretty heavy rain in a short amount of time. Here's our severe weather outlook for the upper Midwest, and it does paint most of Wisconsin and parts of Minnesota from the Twin Cities metro area all the way down to southeastern Wisconsin in a slight risk for severe storms. Again, the timing on that will be much later on today. Here's a look at what's happening right now. There is a pretty large cluster of shower and thunderstorm activity rolling through the Dakotas into far western Minnesota as we speak. A severe thunderstorm watch is that pink box that you see shaded in. That's in effect for much of Minnesota, the central part of the state that is, until 1 o'clock this afternoon. These showers and thunderstorms will hold together though and work their way into southern Wisconsin after 4. There are additional alert days in the forecast for the high heat and humidity. We're talking high temperatures near 90, heat index values in the mid to upper 90s, so nothing to mess around with. You need to be prepared for the high heat and humidity this weekend so that you can stay safe and keep your family safe. Dew points today are going to climb potentially into the 70s this afternoon. That's pretty oppressive. That starts to get very uncomfortable when dew points are that high. Here's a look at your RPM Future Track heat index values. This is what it will feel like at noon today. Already feeling like mid to upper 80s. Just gets worse from there as heat index values climb into the 90s for the afternoon. Now there will be some improvement as that rain moves through, but until then, it's going to stay pretty sticky across southern Wisconsin. The heat index values will drop back into the 70s though, behind those showers and thunderstorms. A live look from the WISC-TV Skycam. Pretty tranquil shot this morning. Just a little bit of cloud cover drifting through the area right now. Temperatures are in the 60s, 61 here in Madison. A little bit warmer to the south and west where temperatures are still in the upper 60s. Dew points, though, are climbing. Last hour, we were at 59 here in Madison. Now we're at 60, already 65 in Platteville. So those dew points will just continue to climb through the day. If you have outdoor activities and you're worried about that rain, you'll be fine through lunchtime. I think you'll probably be fine even through 4 p.m. here across southern Wisconsin. It's after 4 that those showers and thunderstorms start to move into the area and then sink south and east steadily through the evening and overnight hours. Rain amounts, as I mentioned, could be pretty high, up around an inch, maybe a little bit more, especially north and west of Madison. Your extended forecast has many alert days with that high heat and humidity. It's going to be feeling pretty uncomfortable. This is definitely a pool forecast with highs even staying in the mid to upper 80s right through the 4th of July. Humidity levels will stay high as well. Now let's get a look at your first alert traffic maps this morning. We'll send it over to Josh Tim for all the details. Good morning, Josh.
Yeah, things are moving well so far on the Beltline, but I would expect some brake lights to show up pretty soon here, heading westbound with lane shifts between Stoughton Road and West Broadway. Other roads here in Dane County not looking too bad, just a few slowdowns on the northbound side of Verona Road approaching the Beltline. No delays downtown around campus. Things will get busier over the next hour or so, and other main routes heading into the city moving along at the usual speeds with no major issues. With your first alert traffic, I'm Josh Tim.
The good news, more people are getting active, but the CDC says less than a quarter of us are meeting aerobic and physical activity guidelines.
This is really interesting, folks. Here to tell us more about those guidelines and how we can meet them is Dr. Mandira Mehra from SSM Health. Good morning.
Good morning.
This is something Josh and I take pretty seriously. I'm sure you've seen us work out in some videos before, but a warning for folks to get out there, huh?
I think we just need to watch more of your guys' videos. I think that'll inspire people, keep us laughing. But in all seriousness, the CDC did release some very interesting statistics here. What it showed us is that over the last 10, 12 years, people have been working out more. So we know that there's more exercise happening. The increase was about 17 to 25%, almost. So it's better. But what that means is, another way to look at that statistic is about 1 in 4 or almost 1 in 5 people are the only people getting enough exercise. That means 4 out of 5 of us or 3 out of 4 of us are not getting enough aerobic or muscular strength training. And just to review some of those guidelines that the CDC has out, what that means is we're really recommending somewhere between 75 minutes and 300 minutes of exercise a week. Now, why such a range? Well, it depends if it's vigorous, moderate, or just light exercise or activity, as well as 2 days of really muscular strength training of all the basic muscle groups. So what that means, if you break it down by day, is somewhere between 12 minutes and about 40 minutes of exercise a day, again, depending on how rigorous it really is, and then not to forget the muscle strength training. So I know we joked about your guys' videos, but in all seriousness, how do we increase this? How do we get people really jazzed up, and how do we get the other 3, 4 out of 5 people that are not getting this daily recommendation, how do we get them doing that? Maybe it's teaming up with a friend, maybe it's making fun videos. We really need to increase the cultural awareness. So we noticed that certain demographics, certain people, and definitely more in the South, those were the higher rates of people being inactive or not really meeting those guidelines. So we need to really look at evidence-based data that shows that cultural approaches to really raising awareness and accessibility is the key here. So is it more access to gyms? Is it more technological awareness? How do we get the word out there that this can really prevent chronic diseases? And so we talk about the same 4 or 5 things all the time: the stroke, the heart attack, obesity, type 2 diabetes, and even some types of cancer. So prevention is key here. It's not just to maintain a good body and to look great in Instagram pictures. It really has real health benefits. So staying active is really important.
And we learned through my story recently that you really have to find what works best for you too, because everyone's different. I know Leah works out a lot more than I do, but it's for finding out what works out for you.
Exactly. Finding out what works for you is probably the best thing. So just because, you know, one workout's great for Leah, the same may not be good for you or good for me. And then also taking your body and your limitations into account. So a lot of people will say, Dr. Mara, I have an injury of X, Y, and Z, so I can't do anything. You wouldn't believe it, but they even have something called chair yoga. So, you know, yoga doesn't have to be this intense 90-minute thing in a hot room. Right. It can be even as basic as being in a chair.
All right. Dr. Mara, always with the good advice, getting us up and moving. We'll have to make some more videos. You can be invited next time.
Yeah, next time. Don't forget me.
Love it.
All right. Thanks, Dr. Mara.
Good to see you.
Nice to see you.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Welcome back at 6:24 on a Thursday morning, and I'm just trying to figure out if this is like a taped
a loop.
Like, I feel like it's always the same thing. Like, Barrett just doesn't get sick of that.
Great habit.
I mean,
Why not?
Looks really nice. And the pool is the place to be, at least through the first part of the day into the afternoon before those storms move in. Of course, you'd want to keep an eye on the weather, not head to the pool with the storms moving into the area. And there is the potential later on today, probably late this afternoon into tonight. There is an alert day in the forecast for that potential for severe weather. Hail, high winds, and heavy rain would be possible with the strongest storms. Now, right now, things are quiet, so no issues with rain this morning, but showers and thunderstorms are moving into western Minnesota. They are expected to track across the central part of Minnesota and then start to dive southeast, almost following the interstate as they move into southern Wisconsin. So they will hold together, and rain chances do increase for us later on. There's a slight risk for severe thunderstorms from the Twin Cities metro area all the way down through central and southern Wisconsin. Timing again later today. Here's a look at our temperatures. Now, out ahead of that rain, it's going to heat up rather quickly. It already feels a little muggy outside this morning. Temperatures will be in the mid-80s by lunchtime, topping in the upper 80s with a southerly wind later on this afternoon. That's the actual air temperature. Heat index will be higher in the low to mid-90s. And we're talking a lot of heat and humidity in that extended forecast. Friday through Monday will be alert days, not for the potential for severe weather, but the high heat and humidity. Heat index values in the mid to upper 90s.
We've been warned. Thank you very much, Hattie. And thank you very much, Josh. If you are trying to enjoy that hot forecast outside at Shake the Lake this weekend, you're going to want to make sure that you are ready to be outside. The 5th annual event is this Saturday, and with temperatures expected in the 90s, officials are providing extra opportunities to stay hydrated. They're letting you bring in one 20-ounce factory-sealed water bottle into the event zone, and will be giving refills at designated water refilling stations. Josh will not be there fanning off folks.
You always call me Zach.
I know.
Or Z.
Poor Zach.
Poor Zach. I'm just your work husband. It's fine.
That's true.
6:26 right now. A dangerous type of tick has returned to Wisconsin. We're talking about the Lone Star tick. Normally, they're only found in the southeast portion of the United States, but they can attach to birds or other animals and make their way north. They've got a distinct look with a white spot in the center of their back, but it's the side effects that come along with the Lone Star tick that really stand out.
Cases of people who've been bitten by Lone Star ticks, and then, you know, whenever they have beef or I think lamb too, you know, any of the red meats, they can develop even life-threatening kind of shock.
Now, in the past, experts have used data to map where it's most commonly found. Dane County and Rock County are both areas of concern.
Ooh, this just gives me the heebie-jeebies.
Ticks freak me out, and like, 'cause if you ever have one, then I feel like they're all over your body, just crawling all over.
Oh gosh, you and I are both really outdoorsy, so this is a real concern.
I haven't had any ticks yet this year, though, so.
Neither have I. Fingers crossed.
Yes.
We probably just jinxed it.
Knock on wood, I know.
All right, 6:27 your time now. Whether you, your work husband, your real husband, anybody looking for a place to live, deciding on whether to rent or buy is one of the many tough questions you might have to decide on.
Thanks to some new data, that question might be a little easier to answer this morning. We're going to talk all about it when News 3 Now This Morning returns.
From the Channel3000.com Alert Center, this is News 3 Now this morning.
Good morning, everyone, and thanks for staying with us on this Thursday, June 27th. Before I left this morning, I made sure that my thermostat was set to a comfortable 72 degrees when I get home.
Oh, you better believe it. Take a look at that sky. It even looks a little hazy with heat. That's a gorgeous, gorgeous shot. Maybe we'll be enjoying that from inside today, though. Steamy, steamy, steamy day ahead.
Unless you have a pool or you can enjoy the lake. How about that?
Very true. All right, Hattie is going to have a look at that alert day forecast coming up in just a minute. But first, here are the top 3 things you should know to start your Thursday. The budget is headed to Governor Evers' desk tonight, but it is unclear whether he's going to sign it. That measure increases funding for K-12 schools by $500 million, which is just a fraction of the $1.4 billion the governor had wanted. Republicans made last-minute minor wording changes to the budget this week in an effort to make it more difficult for the governor to partially veto it.
Today is the second day of the first Democratic debates heading into primary season. Last night's debate featured 10 candidates, including Elizabeth Warren, Cory Booker, and Amy Klobuchar. Participants looked to make an impression in the 7 to 10 minutes they were each given to speak. Topics ranged from anything from gun control to abortion. Both debates feature the Democratic Party's diverse field, with more women on stage than any past presidential debate. Tonight's debate will have 10 more candidates, including former Vice President Joe Biden, Senators Bernie Sanders and Kamala Harris, and South Bend Mayor Pete Buttigieg. More than $4.5 billion of emergency humanitarian aid could be heading toward the southwestern border this week. The Senate approved a bipartisan bill after rejecting the border funding legislation the House had approved on Tuesday. The House bill aimed to restrict President Trump's crackdown on immigration. Congressional leaders hope to send President Trump a compromise bill before lawmakers leave town for the 4th of July recess. 6:33 right now. Miss Hattie McLean is feeling hot, hot, hot out on the Hattie-O patio this morning. Hi, Hads.
Yeah, it is heating up. It's already feeling a little muggy outside this morning, but not bad right now. We are only going to go up from here, though. Let's take a live look in Platteville this morning. Our sky camera and the Queen Bee Radio sky cam is working again. You can see beautiful sunshine, no clouds in the area this morning there. We will watch for some showers and thunderstorms to move in later on this afternoon. Some of that activity already showing up on the radar map, and parts of the Dakotas moving into western Minnesota has prompted a severe thunderstorm watch for central Minnesota that goes until 1 o'clock. These showers and thunderstorms are expected to start to turn to the south and east as they head towards Wisconsin. And that's where the Storm Prediction Center has highlighted a slight risk for severe weather from Minneapolis and St. Paul all the way down through Madison and southeastern Wisconsin. Again, timing on that activity is going to be much later today. So you should have the morning and afternoon hours without rain. Temperatures are in the 60s, even 70 this morning in Mineral Point. That's the warm spot in the area. Should be a pretty fast warm up, though, with dew points creeping into the 70s as well. Highs will reach 88, but it's actually going to feel like it's in the 90s later on today. Let's get a look at your First Alert traffic maps this morning. We'll show you what's happening. Still an accident being reported on the interstate, the westbound side of I-90, right after Highway 23. That's just near the Dells. No delays, though, showing up in that area right now. No other major delays here in the Madison area either. I would imagine, though, as we go through the 7 o'clock hour, that volume will increase, especially on the westbound belt line.
Josh, how did you say Hattie was looking out there?
Well, I guess I've got a British accent this morning. Hot, hot, hot. And I don't know why I'm grabbing my hands like that.
Very proper.
Right. Anything to stay cool today. That's what you need to do.
Definitely a pool day.
There you go.
All right. Thank you, Hattie.
You're welcome.
In other news this half hour, 2 United States service members have been killed while serving in Afghanistan this week. The announcement came from the U.S. military, bringing the total number of U.S. service members killed in Afghanistan this year up to 9. Names are still being withheld until families are notified.
Today is PTSD Awareness Day, and all morning long we've been talking about the signs and symptoms in an effort to reduce the stigma.
Christina Laurie is live with what you should know about talking to anyone with PTSD. Christina, good morning.
Good morning, Josh and Leah. PTSD is a disease, but it's definitely not contagious. That's why it's so important to reach out to anyone battling it to help them and yourself adjust to a new normal. We're rejoined this morning by Levi. He's a U.S. Army veteran. So what were some of the symptoms that you realized you had that caused thoughts of PTSD?
Well, most of them would be I was just sitting there and having unrealistic thoughts like I could be attacked right now or I could be shot at, and my level of like trying to pay attention to what's going on or get control of the situation or being like more irritable than I should be. And then another thing that also contributed to it was I fell off a mountain, and I know I had a traumatic brain injury too. So I don't know how much like the brain injury and the aggression and then like PTSD played into it too at the same time.
So what can someone like me, who's never been in the military, I don't know what you're experiencing, what can I say to you that can possibly make you feel any better?
I would say one of the biggest things is just listen, and then whatever situation is going on, wait for that veteran to open up. But also don't get upset if he's like, you know what, right now I just can't deal with what's going on, so I need to get away from it, like everybody and everything, because some moments can just be like too overwhelming.
And in those moments, it's really good to be able to talk to other local veterans. That's why we're here this morning at Dry Hooch. And can you talk about some of the services?
Yeah, so a lot of Dry Hooch services is done with veterans to veterans, so right on. So we do a lot of the peer mentorship, is where a veteran who's gone through certain things at life and certain experiences, that he can just be able to relate with other veterans. And then basically it's whatever the need is for that other veterans, you know, get together and decide, hey, this is what we need. We need more groups on this. We need more times. We need this open. And that's, you know, everything can change, and then everything can go from really consistent where this is what we need to focus on. And it's totally led by the veterans.
Sorry to cut you off here. We're running out of time, but thank you so much for talking to us this morning. And we've talked a lot about PTSD on this PTSD Awareness Day all morning long. You can find all of that information up on our website, channel3000.com. It's valuable resources for both anyone who's been in the military or if you come in contact with anyone who's served our country.
All right, Christina Laurie reporting live for us. Thank you, Christina.
6:38 right now. A new report shows Wisconsin as one of just 10 states where it's better to rent than buy a home this year. And we learned that also holds true for the Madison Metro as well. ApartmentGuide.com shows rents have gone down 1.62% in Wisconsin since last year, while housing prices have gone up by 6.14%. So if you're looking at renting right now, how can you still save money over time? Well, even though you're losing the opportunity of building equity in a home, you avoid paying for things like taxes and insurance and leave maintenance and upkeep to someone else. Financial expert Mark Varnon tells me you just have to be smart about your situation, looking at the cost of buying a home versus that of renting.
If you save the difference, you can actually acquire over time the same amount of equity, if you will, that you wouldn't by renting that you otherwise would have in a house. So you can save that difference and make up for the equity that's lost.
Now, you may be surprised it's not just millennials taking advantage of this. Varnon says many retired folks or those close to retiring find the flexibility more convenient and less stressful.
All right, 6:39 your time now on this Thursday morning. We are giving you a reason to make the trip up north to Two Rivers, Wisconsin, and it's all for ice cream treats made from donuts.
I'm in. And those cones aren't even the craziest part of this story. It's owned and operated by a teenager. Keep watching News 3 Now this morning.
All right, I'm going to repeat a joke from earlier. This is a live look at Josh and I fighting over which state is better, Minnesota or Wisconsin.
And you're the one on the left.
I'm the one on the left. Clearly, I'm winning.
I don't know. I'm more colorful than you, though.
The land of 15,000 lakes, Josh.
It's all about the looks.
Stop. Linda, great photo. Thanks so much for sharing.
You can tell I'm totally avoiding that argument. If you have a photo like Linda's you'd want to share, if it maybe looks like Lee and I fighting or whatever, yelling at each other. No, we love each other.
We do.
All right. You can send it to us on our Channel 3000 social media and just use that hashtag MyNews3Morning. Off the rails like usual.
Wisconsin is the better state, though.
I live here, so I'm not going to complain.
That's true. All right, 6:43 your time now. A teenager in Two Rivers, Wisconsin is the owner and operator of an ice cream store with some pretty interesting ingredients.
I love this story. If you're looking for Screamin' Conuts, just keep an eye out for the bright pink house with cones made from donuts.
What a name.
I want one really bad right now. I've told you I'm hungry all morning. Emily Rickinston is a high school graduate, and she's the owner of the store. She got the idea while on vacation in Europe and convinced her parents to help her get a building when she got back. Emily now runs the ice cream store on her own and hired her former classmates to help with the work. I'm so distracted by that video.
It's also a pretty impressive move by a teenager. Really good work ethic there.
Screaming Conuts, and I'm screaming for an ice cream cone. We're gonna be screaming for an ice cream cone later today.
Yes, we are. Get ready for the heat. We have count them, 5 alert days in the forecast. Hattie's tracking just how hot and humid it's going to get in the coming days.
But first, if you have a little kid turning 3 soon, please let us know so we can show their picture on TV. Thanks for watching News 3 Now this morning. We're back after this. .47 right now. Live look at that sunrise this morning, and that sun's going to be pretty powerful later today.
Ooh, I'm already sweating.
Hattie McLean is in with that alert day forecast this morning. The hottest day of the year so far, Hattie.
That's true, and it's only going to get warmer from here as we go through the weekend. Today is an alert day, though, not necessarily for the heat, but the potential for severe thunderstorms. Those strongest storms later today could produce some large hail, high winds, and of course, heavy rain. While it's quiet right now, there's a severe thunderstorm watch in effect for central Minnesota. You can see some pretty widespread activity tracking eastward through the morning. It will hold together and move into southern Wisconsin later on today. The Storm Prediction Center has issued a slight risk for severe weather from the Twin Cities metro area all the way down through southeastern Wisconsin. And again, timing will be later on this afternoon through tonight. Here's a look at your future track forecast model. If you're planning outdoor activities, you shouldn't have any problems with the rain through the day today. It is going to heat up quickly, though. 84 by lunchtime, into the upper 80s, feeling like 90s. Now through 4 p.m. should be fine across southern Wisconsin. Watch to the northwest, though, after 4 o'clock. That's when that line of showers and thunderstorms begins to sink southeastward and then track through the entire area through the evening hours into overnight. The chances for rain will continue overnight tonight right into tomorrow morning. Now heavy rain is possible with some of those stronger storms, especially to the north and west where those storms are a little bit stronger. We could see over an inch of rain in some locations. Once we get through with the rain chances today, we turn our attention to very hot and humid conditions. Alert days in the forecast Friday through Monday for that extreme heat and humidity. You may be thinking, it always gets hot in the summer around here, no big deal. But keep in mind, heat is the #1 weather-related killer across the country. Over 100 people died last year due to high heat. That was in 2018. It's important to know the signs of heat exhaustion and heat stroke. Look out for others, especially if you're exercising or doing strenuous activities outside. And of course, never leave people or pets in cars any time of the year, but especially when it's this hot. A live look outside the Queen Bee Radio Sky Cam in Platteville. Skies are clear this morning. A little bit hazy with that moisture in the atmosphere, though. Temperatures are right around 60 here in Madison. A little bit warmer in Platteville with 67. Check out Mineral Point. You're the warm spot this morning with 72 degrees. Dew points are already in the 60s, and they will trend towards the 70s later on this afternoon, meaning it's going to feel pretty uncomfortable later today. Here's a look at your future track heat index starting at 2:30 this afternoon, already feeling like it's in the 90s across all of southern Wisconsin. There will be some relief as that rain moves through the area, but probably not until after 7 o'clock here in Madison. So it'll still be feeling like the 90s at 6. Here's a look at that extended forecast then. We have temperatures that will stay in the upper 80s and low 90s through the weekend into next week. In fact, we really have hot and humid conditions all the way through the 4th of July. Here's our pet walk forecast. I'd look carefully. There's 2 cats in this picture. Ooh. Bob and Charlie.
Camouflage.
And why not? Look at them hiding out in the grass.
Here, kitty, 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 kitty. They look like they're going hunting.
Maybe so. They're probably going to stay inside in the AC today.
Oh, man, yeah.
The life of a house cat.
Too much sun for a cat, too.
Yeah.
I'll be joining Bob and Charlie.
Thanks, Hads.
You're welcome.
Stay with us. The Morning Sprint is up next on News 3 Now this morning. It's 6:53, time for the morning sprint as our team gets you the most local news to start your Thursday.
We start with news breaking now. President Trump has arrived in Japan for the start of the G20 summit in Alaska. Reports from Chinese media say there may be a truce in the ongoing trade war between the U.S. and China that could be finalized during the summit. That would halt the next round of tariffs on $300 billion worth of Chinese goods. The summit runs through tomorrow.
The second round of Democratic debates kicks off later today. Last night's debate featured 10 candidates, all looking to make an impression in the 7 to 10 minutes they were each given to speak. Tonight's debate will include 10 more candidates, including Joe Biden, Bernie Sanders, and Kamala Harris.
More than $4.5 billion of emergency humanitarian aid could be heading toward the southwestern border. The Senate approved a bipartisan bill after rejecting the border funding legislation the House had approved Tuesday. The House bill aimed to restrict President Trump's crackdown on immigration. Congressional leaders hope to send President Trump a compromise bill before lawmakers leave town for the July 4th recess.
And today is an alert day for southern Wisconsin. We're under a slight risk for severe storms later on today into tonight. So most of the day will be dry. It's going to be a hot and humid one today. Humidity levels increase as highs reach the upper 80s later on this afternoon. It'll feel like it's in the 90s.
As many as 70% of all Americans have experienced a traumatic event that can cause PTSD or similar symptoms. Today is PTSD Awareness Day. Those symptoms will manifest themselves in 20% of people, so it's important to know what to say to someone experiencing them and where to go for help. Earlier in the show, we spoke to local group Dry Hooch. They're a Veterans Helping Veterans organization with many members who know what it's like to battle PTSD firsthand. Whether you know someone with the disease, meet someone experiencing it, or battle it yourself, head to our website, channel3000.com, for a list of helpful tips.
Thanks, Christina. Republican leaders are calling on Democratic Governor Tony Evers to sign the state's two-year spending plan. The budget passed the full legislature this week and now heads to Evers' desk. Republican Senate Majority Leader Scott Fitzgerald says he believes Evers will sign the plan and won't veto it completely. Democrats, on the other hand, say the budget is inadequate.
Today is the last chance to voice your opinion on a controversial Cardinal Hickory Creek power line proposal. 2 public hearings will be held today at Dodger Bowl Lanes in Dodgeville, one at 2 and the second at 6 for anyone who wants to share their concerns. Comments can also be submitted in writing through Friday. You can find a link to do that on channel3000.com.
Starting today, the pride flag will fly over the University of Wisconsin. Chancellor Rebecca Blank announced that to commemorate the 50th anniversary of the Stonewall Uprising. The flag would be displayed outside the 2 unions through this weekend. It's been flying over the state capitol for much of June, and Pride Month ends on Sunday.
6:56 now. Let's turn it over to Josh Tim with a look at your first alert traffic. Hey, Josh.
Morning, guys. Delays starting to show up on the westbound Beltline just as you get off the interstate, continuing until West Broadway. It's going to add a couple minutes to your time. Inbound John Nolan beginning to pick up at the Rimrock and Olin Avenue intersections, moving into downtown. And other main routes heading into the city still cruising along at the usual speeds with no major issues. Your first alert traffic, I'm Josh Tim.
Thank you very much, Josh.
And here's a live look outside this morning. The sun is up. We have mostly clear skies across southern Wisconsin. Clouds will increase later on today, but those temperatures and dew points will climb as well. We're looking at high temperatures in the upper 80s. Again, chances for rain here in southern Wisconsin really start after 4 p.m. Then get ready for some hot and humid conditions. This summertime weather will stick around right through the 4th of July with high humidity expected. Chances for rain, but the main weather story is the heat.
Ooh, crank up that AC. Thank you very much, Hattie.
You're welcome.
Be cool, stay safe, everyone. Go make it a great day, and we'll see you back here tomorrow morning.